So when you're part of a community where you can kind of see how everything connects and you can better meet the needs, it just makes it a lot more beneficial for everybody.
It's time for bookkeeping, beer, and BS. I want to switch gears to entrepreneurship because I know that you write. I know that you're a teacher. I know that you're an outdoorsman. But what I see from you often, and just like looking at your podcast titles and looking at the stuff you write, is a lot about entrepreneurship. And I'm curious what brings that to the fold, how you embrace that and where you got it from.
Mm-hmm. I was first curious about that, just as if you're a podcaster and you're a writer, you're thinking about your brand, right? And so how can I promote? How can I market my brand? So the more knowledge I had about entrepreneurship, the better off. But then also I had so many journalism kids and so many kids around in the school that, their parents are working local. They're entrepreneurs, business owners. A couple of kids want to be charter fishermen. I saw such a need for these kids to have some sort of entrepreneurial guidance. And the more that I knew about it, the better off it would be. And so I would tell them to write about that stuff, but I felt inadequate in how I could help guide them to certain things and look up certain things. And so I'm now more equipped by reading a lot about entrepreneurship and following more entrepreneurship podcasts. I'm able to kind of guide the kids and direct them and give them a better idea of the opportunities for the future. So if you want to come back and you want to own a charter business, I got one student who her dad is a charter fisherman, and she doesn't want to go to 4 years of college and accrue a lot of debt. So we looked at different things, said you can go to a 2-year, get an AA in marketing and business. That way, if you want to be a charter captain, you at least have some background. So you don't run this charter fishing business into the ground. Even though people come to Catch Can to fish, that doesn't mean that you're going to be smart enough to be able to make it work. And how are you going to market yourself? How are you going to transition to, if the populations dwindle, how are you going to make it through? So be as prepared as possible to run a successful business. I just felt that was an obvious thing as a teacher to be aware of to help them out.
Do you, for that type of example, I run into this a lot with home service business owners. So a lot of our bookkeeping clients are, cleaning companies, pressure washing companies, landscaping companies. They're kind of like a charter captain. They generally didn't get into it because they're a math person. They got into it because they like fishing, right? Or they got into it because they, had these landscaping projects and they just kind of started growing this thing, or they were looking for a job. They didn't want to go get a job and work for somebody else. So they bought a pressure washer and just started cleaning stuff. And then the minute they start growing this thing, it's like, oh, I'm really just playing a math game and a people game in a way. And it just happens that I use a pressure washer, or it just happens that I have a boat and I take people out fishing. But if I'm truly running a business, it's just capacity versus demand, and how much should I price the thing to get the result and create the result for the client and pay the employees. Do you see that same logic path in teaching as well? You have customers, your students, you have bosses in the school, and I guess the parents are kind of like customers as well. How do you view that relationship in a business sense? Or do you not at all?
I think the perception has changed quite a bit living in Ketchikan, where you can be just a better or bigger part of the community. When I was in California, it was, 4 high school town. And so you only have the kids for 1 year really, because you're teaching, your entire course load is just sophomores or something. So when you're part of a community where you can kind of see how everything connects and you can better meet the needs, it just makes it a lot more beneficial for everybody. And so you can help direct kids into certain directions, and you also know the parents, and you kind of know some background about what their business is, and it really just makes the experience that much better to be able to provide that. And like you said, that it's like a customer type relationship, but it's not one of those cold sort of cliche things where I work for you because you're my students and I care, some sort of cliche thing. It's like, no, let's work for this, and let's bring value. And then it makes it a lot more fun for me because I feel like there's more of a purpose in what I'm doing. And then they're more engaged because they're getting more out of it too. And then the parents are a lot more supportive of the school and of the teachers too. And you just eliminate a lot of those teacher problems or teacher parent problems if you just care and you provide value to them.